It began in Park City, Kansas, a quiet working-class suburb on the outskirts of Wichita. Here, neighbors waved at one another, children rode bicycles past trimmed lawns, and everyone knew who lived on each street. And on a small cul-de-sac, in a neat brick house with white shutters, lived Dennis Rader, husband, father, church council president, compliance officer. He was the kind of man people called dependable. He fixed his neighbors' fences, organized church picnics, and wore pressed shirts every day. No one knew that beneath that calm, suburban normalcy was a storm of obsession, a secret life pulsing with dark fantasies of control, power, and death. Evil wasn't lurking in an alley or hiding in the woods. It was mowing its lawn right next door. January 15, 1974. The Otero family began their morning like any other. Joseph kissed his wife Julie goodbye. Their children, Josephine and Joseph Jr., played with the family dog in the yard. That morning, Dennis Rader decided it was time for his first project. He had been watching the family for weeks, learning their routines. He thought he'd find only Julie at home. Instead, the entire family was there. He knocked, stepped inside, and in a chillingly calm voice told them it was just a robbery. But Rader had other intentions. Within an hour, 4 members of the Otero family were dead, bound, tortured, and strangled in their own home. When the surviving Otero children came home from school, they found what police would describe as one of the most haunting scenes in Wichita's history. The peace of Park City was gone. Something monstrous had entered their world. Detectives were baffled. The crime scene offered almost nothing, no fingerprints, no witnesses, no motive. Then, weeks later, a letter arrived at a local newspaper. It began with a confession. "I did it myself with no one's help. I am sorry this had to happen, but you can't stop what's inside me." It was signed BTK, an acronym that stood for bind, torture, kill. The killer had given himself a name. And over the next 17 years, BTK would terrorize Wichita. He would stalk women, watch them for weeks, and strike when they were most vulnerable. He killed Catherine Bright, Shirley Vian, Nancy Fox, Vicki Wegerle, and others, always with the same ritual precision. He left behind no trace, only fear, confusion, and letters. BTK didn't just want to kill. He wanted an audience. He wrote to the police, mocked investigators, and demanded attention. He even hid clues inside cereal boxes, taunting officers to "catch me if you can." But each time, he vanished again, a phantom cloaked in the disguise of normalcy. And the irony? The man hunting code violators by day was breaking every law of humanity by night. By 1991, the killings stopped. Some believed BTK was dead. Others thought he had moved away. But Dennis Rader had simply gotten busy, raising his kids, attending church, enforcing city rules, and playing the role of a family man. Behind closed doors, he revisited his trophies, the photos, sketches, and stolen mementos from his victims. He wrote detailed accounts of his crimes, storing them in binders labeled projects. He wasn't done. He was waiting. In 2004, 30 years after his first murder, a Wichita newspaper ran an anniversary article asking, "Whatever happened to BTK?" Rader couldn't resist. He sent a letter. Then another. Then another. He asked police a fatal question. "Can a floppy disk be traced? Be honest." The police said no. And when Rader sent in that disk, forensic experts traced it back to a computer registered to Christ Lutheran Church, the same church where Dennis Rader was president of the congregation. The name embedded in the disk's metadata sealed his fate, Dennis Rader. February 25, 2005. Police closed in. Rader was driving home from work when they pulled him over. He didn't run. He didn't deny. "I guess you got me," he said, almost relieved. Inside his home, detectives found a chilling archive, crime photos, victim trophies, and detailed notes of every murder. At last, the ghost of Wichita had a face. In the interrogation room, Rader talked freely. He described his crimes with the detachment of a man describing a work routine. He called his victims projects. He said he felt possessed by something he called Factor X, a dark force that drove him to kill. During his court confession, he recited each murder scene like a grocery list. No emotion. No remorse. The courtroom was silent, except for the sound of mothers crying, reliving decades of loss. Rader adjusted his glasses, looked at the judge, and finished his confession with calm precision, as if proud of his own story. Dennis Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences, 175 years without parole. In prison, he still keeps order. He follows routines, writes daily journals, and occasionally pens letters to criminologists who study him. But his legacy isn't the number of lives he took. It's the fear he planted in ordinary hearts, the realization that evil can hide behind the most familiar face. Neighbors still remember him mowing his lawn, waving politely. Parents still recall him leading Boy Scouts on camping trips. Churchgoers remember him reciting scripture. And they all remember the same question echoing through Wichita. How could we not have known? BTK's story is a chilling reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they wear glasses, smile politely, and live right next door. Today, the house where Dennis Rader once lived stands silent. The grass still grows. The windows still face the same streets. But for those who remember, Park City will never feel safe again. Because BTK wasn't a ghost or a drifter. He was a husband, a father, a friend, proof that the most dangerous kind of evil isn't the one that comes from the dark. It's the kind that comes from the man you trust.